Going to call upon Brian. You're the one who's going to introduce Ken. Please.
It's a one-man show, isn't it?
An honour which has been bestowed upon me to introduce this. And it is an honour actually, because I've met Ken a number of times now since when he was just coming into his office and since he has. And he's made a great impression upon me as a man who's going to be very dynamic during his year. Certainly has a man of strong views, and I don't know what you're going to talk to about today, presumably Rotary, and bring us the good word, which we're all looking forward to. But it is indeed a pleasure to have sat with you during lunch and to introduce you to the club as this year's District Governor. We're looking forward to your conference.
Thank you very much. President Raj, my fellow Rotarians, yes indeed it's a great pleasure to be here, so thank you very much indeed for your hospitality. I bring Marcus already, Minder, or whatever you want to call him, who kindly has escorted me here today, has brought greetings from my club, but I would like to repeat that. Yes, I do bring greetings from Chelmer Bridge, the evening club in Chelmsford, and all our members, including President John. First of all, I think just a word or two about my background. As I say, I do know quite a number of faces, I'm pleased to say, in the room. But from a practical point of view, by profession, I'm a chartered surveyor and worked for many years in the locality in Essex, but in fact retired some years ago. Did consultancy for a while, and then got to the situation where I gave up full-time work. But my wife says, and it's true, I work harder now than I used to, but I don't get paid for it. There you go. So that's my professional situation. From a Rotary point of view, I am pleased to say that I'm a founder member of Chelmer Bridge, and we were formed in 1984 as the then youngest club in Chelmsford, and of course the first evening club in Chelmsford. And I was very pleased at the time to be asked to join Rotary and to become a member of the club. And in fact, coming in that sort of situation, you all come in as new people introduced to Rotary, and you don't know quite what you're coming into, but you're all in the same situation. And although, of course, we had our founder president and our council members, etc., I was given the position of the first foundation chairman. And I thought, well, this is absolutely splendid. Here we are, we've just been formed and I'm the foundation chairman. I hadn't a clue what foundation meant, but I thought it was very grand. And it took me a little time to realise, of course, as I did, then going around to other clubs, that when it comes to it, a lot of people at that time hadn't a clue what foundation was about anyway. But the situation, fortunately, and we'll come on to that in a moment, is certainly changing. So from foundation chairman, I've had quite a long period as club secretary, and I do applaud the people who take on the job of secretary, because I think it's an essential job in a club, and if done well, it does form, actually it helps form a real backbone to a club, because the presidents, I heard it said actually that the presidents can't do much harm to a club because they're only there for a year. The secretaries are usually there for 5 years, so you have to be very careful who you pick, and I think you've been very good at that. But I was secretary, and it does give you a good grounding in what Rotary is all about and the workings of Rotary, which is so important. And actually it was in 1989 and 90 that I had the privilege then of becoming president of the club of Chelmer Bridge. And that, of course, brings me on to the theme. One of my purposes here today is to bring you the theme for the year from the Rotary International Assembly, from D.K. Lee, which I'll come on to. And we do have the debate, and we've had it in the past, about, well, why should we have an annual theme as well as our main theme, which is service above self. Now, I still feel that service above self is a motto which I think is excellent and actually totally conveys to people what we are all about. We're here because we do consider service to others to be so important. And from my point of view, I do hope that the service above self motto is one that will continue for many years to come. But then the annual theme, the change of theme annually, does just re-emphasise different aspects of what we do. But in my year, in 89-90, the annual theme then was, in fact, Enjoy Rotary. And I do like to go back to that, and I like to link it with our current theme, because I think enjoyment of Rotary is so important, because it ties in with the other aspect of what we're all about, which is fellowship. It's friendship, it's gathering around tables in clubs of this nature all over the world. We enjoy fellowship, and from the fellowship and the enjoyment comes the service that as an organisation we do so well on a worldwide basis. So that was my situation. Of course, it was after, we were discussing earlier on this table about presidents who finished their year in the club and then I think actually wonder what they should do in terms of their Rotary careers. Well, in actual fact, after my situation then, I did join district, as it were. And let's make it quite clear, you've got a number of representatives of district, of course, in your club, but district is not another organisation. We are all part of the overall organisation. We are all part of District 1240, and we're all part of the organisation which does encompass, as we know, 1.2 million people worldwide. So we had this situation then that, say, we are all part of the same organisation. But after my year as president, I did come on and served district in terms of, initially it was on the Membership Services Committee, and I ran quizzes and things of that nature, and then on the International Committee and got involved. But it was in 2003 that I suppose I really started to get involved when I took on the job, which of course your Colin Freeman now has as the District Foundation Chairman. And I've already mentioned the Foundation, and we all know, of course, and you will know in this club, I'm sure, more about Foundation than in many other clubs, but it is our charity. And I do believe that Rotary's charity, Rotary's Foundation, is one of the real benefits that we have as an organisation. Rotary would not be the same. Rotary International would not be the same without the charity that exists and all the good that it does in the world, from a humanitarian point of view, from an educational point of view, from all the different proposals and projects that come forward, but that are all operated by Rotarians in clubs all over the world. I think it is absolutely incredible what the Foundation does, and I do heartily thank Colin for continuing in that situation, and I do applaud all that he's done, because he has done a marvellous job in the two and then in the third year that he's carrying on in that position. I do thank him for that. So it was after that, of course, that I then, somebody suggested my name should go forward as District Governor. And I thought in simple terms, yes, I did like the idea of 58 free meals. And also, I heard about this week's holiday, this jolly that everybody gets at San Diego. And I thought, oh, well, I'll have some of that as well. But I think you'll probably realise that I do thoroughly enjoy and love my Rotary, and my motives were in fact a little deeper than that. But then I was privileged and very pleased when I was elected into the position as a District Governor, select as it initially is. And you think you've got 2 or 3 years before it actually happens, but I suppose as we all find in life, sort of time seems to go past more and more rapidly, and suddenly you find you're in a position and you've perhaps not done as much as you thought you were going to do to prepare. But of course there is a lot of preparation from a District Governor, and a lot of it, well, is training. Actually, I think it was one of our assistant governors who said that animals are trained and that Rotarians are educated. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. But whether you want to be trained or educated, we all need to be kept continually up to date with the changes that are going on around us. And that is part of what being a district governor is. You have to get up to date and know all the different aspects of things that may affect your year in office. So last year, of course, it did involve my visiting weekends away with the other 28 district governors from the other districts in RIBI in the United Kingdom, but culminated in this week's experience, because I think it's adequate and right to describe it thus, in San Diego in January. It is actually difficult to describe what an incredible experience that is. You get 532 incoming district governors with their wives and the partners and all the training teams and the directors of Rotary International, about 1,500 people altogether, in a lovely hotel for the purpose of learning more, of getting together, of learning about each other and the different problems that exist it's a quite extraordinary experience and one that I will be ever grateful for. So I'm certainly most grateful to you all on the district for helping me into that position. But it does give a true feeling of how international our organisation is. You have general plenary sessions when the incoming RI president and the other directors obviously give talks. You have other training sessions when you get together in groups of about 20. The whole thing is conducted in 7 languages, and there's always interpreters available, or the interpreting facilities, so that everybody really starts to get together in a way, and I'm quite sure, I can't believe there's any other organisation in the world that brings so many diverse people from diverse ethnic backgrounds, religions, whatever, from all parts of the world, 170 plus countries, to talk with the common theme in mind, and it comes back to what I've already said. The common themes are fellowship and friendship and service. That is what we are all about. So a truly incredible experience. And of course it was there that you get the message from our current president, world president, Mr. Dong Kern Lee, who comes from South Korea. Now Mr. DK Lee, he likes to be known as DK, and I'm sure you will all have seen his photo with his lovely wife, Yung Ja, on the photo of the recent Rotary Today magazine, on the front of the recent magazine. He's a really lovely man. I do believe he's a true asset to Rotary, will be a really great ambassador for us all during the whole of this year. A really incredible man. But it becomes his job to consider the theme for the year. And of course, now I'm aware that you already know what the theme is, but he gave a lot of thought to what he should suggest that Rotarians worldwide should do collectively in the coming year. And he wanted to continue with the emphases that we've had for a number of years, concentrating on water provision, clean water provision, health, hunger, and literacy or education. These are the emphases that we have had and he wants us to perpetuate. But it was he who also came across this figure, and I'm sure he must have been looking at the internet when he did it, of 30,000 children who die under the age of 5 who die every day. And that caused him some concern. And he was thinking then that this can't happen in this day and age. Can we really, in this world, be having this number of children dying from the lack of the things that we certainly take for granted? The clean water, the medicines, the things that we can relatively easily obtain, but that so many people, youngsters worldwide, can't and don't have the benefit of. But it is true, it is 30,000 a day, or was at that time, and so he thought, if I can get the Rotary clubs throughout the world to look and consider the situation, then with the power of Rotary, the power of Rotarians working together, it must be possible to do something about it. So this becomes one of the challenges that he has put on one of the messages that he's asked me to convey to you, of thinking of what you can do for the children of this part of the world or in other parts of the world. In fact, it was in a recent letter from him that he said he'd been presumably having another look at the internet, and the 30,000 a day had come down to 26,000 a day, which is obviously, I don't know how they collect these statistics together, but it means that some improvement is being effected. And it would be nice to think that all of this 4,000 improvement has been effected by Rotarians, but I'm willing to bet and guarantee that some of it has, because all the time we as a body of people worldwide are collectively doing these various schemes that do help the situation. So that is something for us to think about. Now when it comes to, of course, the other thing that he put to us, and the other things I've been asked to convey to you, is the fact that there are a number of challenges in our present year. And one of the first presentations that we had was the challenge of the changing times in which we live, and how do we get to grips with it? How do the changing times affect what we do in Rotary, and touching on the aspects of membership and other items of that sort. Now the club leadership plan is something, of course, that comes in this category. One of the first presentations we had at San Diego was about the club leadership plan, and I'm sure that a number of you here will be aware of the club leadership plan. and the fact of the things that it tries to emphasise these days, the messages coming through. And whilst we're talking about change, one of the messages of that is also the continuity aspect. And this is another important consideration of what we do now. For too long, Rotary has looked upon 1 year and then the next year and then the next and forgotten that continuity is important. And this document does stress the fact that we need to look further ahead. It does stress the fact that from a committee point of view, you can have somebody in charge of a committee, you can have somebody who is a second in command, as it were, who's training to take the position in a year later. And we do need, in this day and age as well, to set targets for what we do that certainly need to be perhaps more than a year ahead. Now, as perhaps at this stage I could just ask, Raj, I mean, you're aware of the club leadership plan, and I believe to an extent this has been taken on board in your club. Can I just ask, are there any comments about how it is being implemented, or what your thoughts are about the club leadership plan and the committee structure? Are there any particular views on that as a club you feel you have?
I have views on it, but having only really recently read it, taken over senior vice, but I wasn't sure that it was going in entirely the right direction. From us as a local point of view, I accept the district has always said that the plan was there to be adopted, not necessarily in entirety at one go, and there's a need to integrate it into our established ways. But I was a bit concerned that the plan, we fully implemented, did tend to leave club council, or being the governing body of each club, a little light on some of the committee structures below it, which I felt were really important to come in at that level. So I think there is areas there, I would think, from our point of view, that work particularly.
Oh, very interesting comment, thank you. And I mean, part of my purpose in being here is not just to give you messages, but it is to obtain feedback from everybody as to how things are going and what problems are perceived. The main things I think come through from the club leadership plan certainly are this consideration of looking forward, the long-term planning, which you, I'm sure, do anyway, and are just good practice. We all know from a business point of view these things are good practice. But the other important element that comes through is the involvement of everybody in the club. And of course this document is written and is intended to cover clubs, be they from about 20 people up to some of the clubs in America are sort of 500 or 600 and more. So it is difficult to set a structure which directly applies to all. And the consideration that we do come down to in terms of the change of committee names, the fact you've now got an administration committee, all I say to that is please don't get too hung up about a name, a terminology, a name for a committee. You've got a committee who runs your club, you obviously have, because everything's come together, certainly on this occasion, and you have a programme and everything carries forward. So whether you call your administration committee a club service committee as it used to be, or a membership services committee as it used to be, it doesn't really matter as long as you've got the committee and it's doing its job. So these are just one or two thoughts I would just like to put before you from that point of view. Yeah, the other challenge, of course, is the membership challenge, and I believe at the moment your club's at about 46, gone up from 44 in January, so you're doing well on that. But the target that DK Lee has asked us to consider is an increase of about 10% in membership in this current year, net increase. So I assume you've obviously got a strategy in place for membership. Can I ask, do you have membership evenings, or how do you deal with membership issues?
We have a very sort of membership committee this year, and we've had several meetings with quite a few strategies lined up. We are seriously looking at a interact group.
Excellent.
And I think so one, and the offshoots of that, as you well know, is parents, teachers involved in that, which ultimately hopefully will sort of come along to the club. The emphasis I always put on membership is that people have got to bring people along. That's the best way to get new members. Membership drives, membership nights are okay. There's about 3 of us going to the district membership committee meeting, that's in a couple of weeks' time, and hopefully we will sort of glean some more ideas from that. But still, as I say, people have got to bring new people into the club, and that's the way that you always seem to gain a membership.
Thank taking on, yes, you've hit the nail on the head. It's the MGM, not Metro Goldwyn Mayer, but the member gets member. It's the personal contact that in fact does so much in terms of membership. There's no point in advertising Rotary in the local newspaper and saying, come along if you're interested. You've got to have the personal contact, and that's the way that does it. One other interesting suggestion I heard recently from a club was that in introducing new members, don't sort of bring them one at a time along to a club meeting, but they actually gather a number of potential members together, but not at a formal Rotary meeting in one of the Rotarians' houses. And they have it as a sort of more of a social occasion, but start to get the Rotary message through. But it does mean that then you get a number of those people coming to a Rotary meeting together. They already know and can relate to several people in the same situation. So it just seemed to me an interesting way, a strange way perhaps of looking at these things, and one that you might like to take into account. And of course I'm very pleased to hear the comment about Interact, whatever we can do now. Rotaract numbers are going down in terms of clubs, but whatever we can do to sponsor, and as Norman says rightly, there's always the spin-offs in terms of public relations, contact with parents and potential Rotarians, etc. So that's the membership challenge, and we do hope that by the middle of May, which is when our target date, that your club will have been able to achieve an increase in membership, and I'm sure you will. Some of the other challenges do come back to the foundation, again, which I'm sure, because of Colin's involvement, you're very well aware of, but I will just mention the Polio challenge, and the Polio challenge, as you know, is the fact that 20 plus years ago, Rotary actually was in the forefront of the proposal to eradicate polio worldwide. Sadly, we didn't achieve that by the year 2005, which of course was our stated intention, but I think Rotary can be enormously proud of what it's done, because we have been in the forefront for many, many years. A lot of Rotarians complain we've not had the right acknowledgement or the right publicity, but we've done it. We have been involved to the extent that we've now eliminated polio from, I think it's 99.9% of the areas of the world, and we've got left with 4 endemic countries. But we do need this final push. And the final push we're looking to, in fact, goes to the end of 2010, so we've got another 2.5 years from now. And what we've got is the challenge from Bill and Melinda Gates, who've given us, as you will be aware, this $100 million, which is already being spent on the national immunisation days. And of course I know that Colin from this club went out to India in the hope of participating, but he had some involvement with what was going on. So we need, I'm afraid, it's money that's really needed. So the challenge for clubs is to, in fact, quite a modest one really, is a £500 per club per year for the next 3 years. And that would meet this challenge of $100 million and help Rotary to make sure that by the end of 2010 we have in fact eradicated polio. So I suspect, have you got some proposal in mind as far as the polio project is concerned?
It's going to be discussed at club service.
Right, okay. Because one of the thoughts there is, it's not one of those things that you put your hands, Rotarians put their hands in their pockets for. We don't want that, as has been said, checkbook Rotary for that. Publicised to members of the public, get the public aware of what Rotary's done, and get the public involved and get the money from the public. Very quickly, as far as that's concerned, as you will know, we were involved with the V Festival in Chelmsford when we had 85,000 youngsters coming together, making an awful lot of noise over the weekend. And as you know, for the past 3 years we've collected the tents that they tend to leave after that event. Did anybody participate here in the tent collection? Yeah, so you know exactly what's all involved. But it was, I was actually there on the Friday and the Saturday, participating in the other fundraising activities, because we did do these activities to raise money for polio, which actually did remarkably well. We got something like, I think, £3,000 overall. We had projects including the hair project from Jess Mitchell, who's chairman of our international committee, who runs a hairdressing, and he was then giving the people there particular hairstyles, Mohican haircuts and other strange haircuts and colours. And as I did resist the suggestion that he should give me a coloured hairdo. I thought that wouldn't, Dorothy wouldn't quite approve of that. But it did raise some money, and also the bottle exchange, which we were involved in. But the other thing that we did that I just wanted to mention to you was this Purple Pinky scheme. Now the purple pinky is derived from the fact that when children are immunised against polio in third world countries, their little finger, their pinky, is dyed purple to indicate that they've received their immunisation dose. And so the thought was, and the proposal that we went round, in fact it was the young ladies who were going round suggesting to the festival goers that if they could have a purple pinky for the donation of £1. So £1 saves the life or immunises 2 children somewhere in the world, and for that they had their purple pinky. And as a scheme it seemed to go down very well, and it is something that we're now looking to promote as a district-wide project. So I hope your club may well be prepared to get involved in the Purple Pinky scheme next February time. And I know you've got quite a few contacts with schools and other youth organisations. So that's something that we'll be telling you a little more about. And was in fact quite an interesting way to see the reaction we got from the people on the Purple Pinky scheme. Foundation, again, I think I'm beating the drum that you know full well in terms of donations and contributions to Foundation. And I thank you for all that you've done, because you contribute in this club exceedingly well to Foundation, to the annual fund. And I'm sure Colin has told you that the year before last our contributions from a district point of view were $93,000, and last year that went up this staggering 60% to about $150,000. So thank you all very much indeed for the part you played in that. And as you will know, that goes towards the educational projects and the other things like matching grants and simplified grants. The group study exchange is the other thing I've already heard, and thank you for your involvement with the young lady, the pharmacist who's come and is part of the team. They're about halfway through their visit now. They're here for a month. They give a final presentation at the conference in Cambridge, and then we'll be going home. Our team are preparing and have been preparing some time, and they go out to Japan in October, come back in November, so you'll have the opportunity later of hearing what they have to say about how they got on in Japan. I think they're already getting a little concerned, because whilst I stipulated that it should be an English-speaking exchange, it's obvious actually that the team over here, their English is somewhat limited. Their team leader is able to converse, but the others are somewhat limited. And the question, of course, arises to what extent they will be expected when they're over in Japan to speak all the time in Japanese. They are having Japanese lessons, but I don't think I envy them that particular task. So it'll be fascinating to see how they do get on. I've already heard mention of other things such as the Rotary calendars and other ways, and as I say, I do know about your involvement in simplified grants and matching grants, and thank you for that. So that really comes to the sort of the final thing, the Make Dreams Real, the projects with children. You've had the dictionary, a copy of the dictionary, I believe, that's been distributed. And again, I hope that's a project that you may like to consider taking on board, or has that been taken on board?
Oh yes, we're taking on board already.
Excellent, that's great, thank you very much, because I think in this last year we ordered district-wise about, I think it was 1,800, and I do hope, and it seems to go down exceedingly well, that in this coming year we can do better, so thank you for your involvement. School for All in Africa is the other project that you will have heard something about in Uganda, tying up with Leonard Cheshire Disability. We do hope to be able to get 1,000 disadvantaged and disabled children in Uganda into education. At the moment they're not in they're totally sidelined, sadly, some of these youngsters, but to get them actually into school and give them an education then puts them on a totally different footing. We've had information about this, so anything you may feel able to do in that, of course, is greatly appreciated. And the other thing ties in, as you know full well, I believe that our district is very good at all the youth activities, with our young youth speech, young musician, and the young photographer and young writer that we've now got. So again, whatever you can do to involve the youth, the young people of today, will be tying in with the Make Dreams Real theme. The district conference, yes, 2 weeks away, and I think that should be a good event in Cambridge. Just like to mention that at the end of November we have the visit from the RIBI President Ian Thompson and his wife Joan. They will be coming here on a Thursday and Friday. You'll be getting more details of that visit, but on the Friday evening in particular, that's when we get our group study exchange team coming back from Japan, and they will be giving a presentation at Ribbon or near Whittam. So certainly if you'd like to come along, I'm sure it'd be fascinating to hear how they've got on that occasion. The other thing I'd like to mention is back to, and I've handed out a bit of information about, is the RI convention, which is in the middle of June, 20-something of June next year. And I know that's looking ahead a bit, but I think bookings are already being made. The convention would normally be held in South Korea, where DKD comes from, but it wasn't possible for that to be achieved, and at the last minute we agreed to take on the running of the convention in Birmingham. Now, I do believe there's a lot of hard work going on. I think it's going to be a splendid occasion, and of course different years we have conventions in other parts of the world. But this coming year, this Rotary year, we've got the convention on our doorstep. It will be easy to get to. One of the thoughts is that with your twin clubs from the continent or wherever, you may invite them over and perhaps then all go together to the conference, so there could be some home hosting by Rotarians before or after the event, but go and join in the fun. The hope is there'll be something like 25 or 30,000 Rotarians all getting together, not only for the plenary sessions and the speeches, but the medieval festival at Warwick Castle and the concert by Catherine Jenkins and all that sort of thing. There's a lot going on, so please do consider getting involved, because you'll find it really introduces you to this whole international aspect of Rotary. So I think it merely remains for me to say thank you very much indeed for your hospitality today. If there are any other future social occasions perhaps that I can bring my wife Dorothy to, that would be great. But I thank you for all that you do, all the fundraising and other activities to help people. So thank you for making dreams real for all sorts of people. But in particular, could I just remind you to, whatever you do, enjoy your Rotary. Thank you. And with that, if I may formally present your theme note.
Thank you very much. The one that I was supposed to give you has gone to him.
Well, there you go. We'll sort that out later.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ken.
Not at all.
That was excellent. You went through it very, very well indeed. You know, we've gone right from the beginning to the end. The most interesting part is that you have put your whole self behind your chair, and you're making it work. And I'm sure it will make this year quite successful. And towards that, as Brian's already told you, most of the points in the leadership initiative that Rotary has come up with, the committee members here are going to be on the ball where that is concerned. Surely that will go a long way for Rotary. And being a president here, as you quite rightly said earlier on in the conversation, it's the committee members who really are the backbone of this chair. And hopefully we will be of that use to you in the months to follow. Thank you very much. Thank you. Coming to the next point on the agenda, I think the raffle's been done and it's gone out of the house.